This video is going to be a guide to bicycle commuting. Whether you are new to bicycle commuting or been doing it for a while, I think you'll pick up some tips in this video that will help you out. So let's get right into it and start talking about what kind of gear you're going to need to commute. The first choice you have to make is using a backpack or using panniers. I personally have used both, and I prefer now a backpack for a few reasons. One is you're more agile on the bike, and especially if you're in an area where you're doing a lot of turns in a city, bunny hopping curbs, that kind of thing, you're a little bit more agile on the bike. Using a backpack also allows you to carry your gear easier once you arrive at your destination. You can just carry the backpack on your back as opposed to having to take panniers off the bike. Now, panniers are nice in the sense of you don't have any weight on your back. And if you carry a lot of gear, laptop, full change of clothes with cleaning, your shower equipment, your towel, that kind of thing, then it's nice to have the weight off of your back. And I'll talk about some tips of what you can do to kind of keep some things at work and not have to carry so much weight. Also, panniers allow you to get, not have a sweaty back. A backpack can be kind of sweaty. So those are the decisions that you'll have to make, because that's going to really dictate what kind of bike you need. If you're going to be carrying panniers, then you're going to need to have a rack on your bike, and you've got to have a bike that can have a rack, so you have braze-ons. Another nice thing about a backpack is the fact that you can use pretty much any bike. And you can use your mountain bike, your road bike. You don't need any specialized bike to put a rack on, so you just put the pack on and jump on any bike. One thing that I do want to mention about a backpack is if you're prone to saddle sores, take that into consideration, because putting more weight on your back also puts more weight on your saddle, and that can cause you to get saddle sores. So when shopping for a backpack, let me just give a couple quick tips. And I did a review on this pack. This is the Osprey Radial 26. This is one that's designed specifically for bike commuting. I'm not going to go into all the features because I did that on my review. But one of the things to consider is make sure you have a rain cover. Either buy a separate one or get a pack like this that has one in the bottom that you just unzip and put out, because you never know when you're going to get caught in some rain. Also, getting a pack with reflective stripes is good for safety. You also need to think about the size. This is a 26-liter pack, which is really good for me. I don't carry a laptop. I don't carry shoes. I don't carry a towel with me. I keep shoes and towel at work. I keep all my shower supplies, my hair dryer, my soap and all that at work. That could fit in this pack, but once you put in some bulky shoes and a laptop, you probably want to get a bigger pack, and they also make this in about a 34 liter size as well. So again, take that into consideration. In the summertime, I sometimes use a pretty small pack, because in the winter you're going to have usually more clothing on as you go to work, and you're going to have less clothing on your body and more in your backpack as you're coming home, so you need a bit bigger pack. I'll use something like, I think it's about an 18-liter pack in the summertime, just to have a minimalist type pack, so it's not so much weight on my body. As far as hydration, typically on a commute you're not going to need more than one water bottle. I don't like the packs that have a bladder inside. It's just more to think about, more to carry on your back. They do make some really nice packs that have a hydration bladder, so if you like that and you don't like reaching down for a water bottle, you can get a pack there. But with all your gear and water in the pack, it just makes it a little bit too heavy, a little bit too bulky for me. So I like carrying a water bottle on my bicycle. So I mentioned bikes, and let me talk about the type of bike that you will need for commuting. Like I said, the best thing to do is to start off with a backpack. Make sure you like commuting, make sure it works out for you. If you decide you want panniers, then if your bike doesn't have braze-ons for a rack, you're probably going to need to get a bike. A lot of cyclocross and gravel bikes today come with braze-ons for racks and fenders. And fenders are another thing that you really need to consider. I typically don't use a fender when I commute. Sometimes I have a clip-on one that I'll put on my commuter bike, which is a gravel bike. That's nice, but it's not a necessity if you have a rain cover on your pack. Now, if you're riding to work and you have a shorter distance, you don't change clothes, you live in a city, so you just wear your work clothes, then fenders are a must. You have to have fenders, because if you get caught in the rain on the way to work, you don't want to have water spray up on your work clothes and put a nice stripe down your back and your butt. So if your commute is on roads and they're not very rough, then a road bike is probably going to be the quickest option, but it's not a necessity. The nice thing about commuting is it's not a race, and you can basically go at your own pace. The ideal bike that I found is a cyclocross or a gravel bike. And let me show my bike as I talk about the bikes to give a visual. So this is a Niner RLT9 steel. I did not get this bike specifically for a commuter, but it is a great double duty bike. I probably would not buy a bike this expensive just for bicycle commuting. And while I mention that, let me say that if you have to lock your bike up outside, then you probably want to get a bike that's not too attractive to a bike thief. So something like this is not one that I would lock up outside. I am fortunate to have a place where I can lock it up inside. So this is a bike that does have braze-ons for a rack and fenders right there, and this would be a fender mount. Also on the front, you've got a fender mount, and you've got braze-ons for racks, which I think you can also put a water bottle cage there as well. So another braze-on down here for a front rack. Gravel bikes and cyclocross bikes also have a more relaxed geometry as compared to a road bike, so that's a little bit more comfortable over the long haul. And when you're carrying gear, especially with a weighty backpack, it's nice to have a little bit more relaxed geometry. And since this is a gravel bike, it's going to have bigger tires than a road bike. A little bit more compliance, more cushion, more comfort, and more stability over rougher surfaces. My commute, I'm very fortunate to have about half of it as dirt roads, very peaceful, no cars. So, take that into consideration as well, what type of surface you're going to be riding on your way to and from work. Now, you could commute on a mountain bike. I've done that. It's great. Those are very stable, obviously slower. So you've got to think about, do you want to take a few more minutes to get to work day after day? But mountain bikes do really well as commuter bikes, especially hardtails. You can put racks on pretty easily. A lot of them already have the braze-ons for the racks and the fenders. So a mountain bike would work very well. And you could also put some slicks on a mountain bike if you're not going to be riding off-road a lot, and convert a mountain bike into a dedicated commuter bike. Let me mention one more style of bike that's really good for bike commuting that I've used, and it was one of my favorite commuter bikes, and that is what's called I call it a flat bar road bike, and a lot of companies will call them like fitness bikes or something like that. It looks like a road bike with thin tires, but it usually has cantilever brakes and a flat bar, which makes it really nice, especially if you're in the city and you want a lot of agility. Those bikes are really nice. And the nice thing about those too is they're not very expensive. You can find a pretty decent one for $400 or $500 from companies like Trek or Giant or Specialized, some of the big ones. And they make really good commuter bikes. And usually those will always have the braze-ons for racks or fenders if you want to go that route as well. One thing that you need to make sure you have in your budget, if you don't have it already, is a good set of lights. Commuting to and from work, if you're doing it all year round, you are going to ride in the dark or at dusk. And having a headlight with a blinking mode is really nice. If you don't want to invest in a very big light, something like this, the Lazine 400 XL is a nice light. It does have the blinking mode that I was telling you about, and various levels of brightness. And the blinking mode is really important at dawn or dusk when light can be in drivers' eyes, and they're also not really focused for looking at bikes. It allows the drivers to really see you, and you would use the blinking mode when you don't need to see with the light, but you do want to be seen. And then of course, if you need to see, you can put it on a brighter steady mode. And this little light is bright enough to see by, and it's not as bright as something like this. This is the Surface T1000. This is a 1,000 lumen light. It's a very bright light, dual LED. But if you don't want to make the investment, something like this can work too. And what's just as important is a blinking red tail light. And that you can put on your pack. Like this pack has a place where you can put a clip-on light on the back, or you can mount it on your bike. But it's really important to have those, and anytime I'm on the road, daylight, dusk, dawn, I will have my blinking red tail light on so that cars can see you. Now let's talk about getting clean when you get to work, because that's very important. Now I fortunately now have showers, but I've been in situations where all I had was access to a bathroom with a sink, and you really can make it work with that. So if that's you, let me give you some tips on how you can get clean. Baby wipes are really good. You can really wipe down and get pretty clean. I live in a hot and humid environment where I get very sweaty, so I would do a full bath, so to speak. And you can get your whole upper body clean. Head, you can shampoo your hair in a sink, you can do your face, your arms, splash soap and water on your chest, and then use baby wipes on your legs or a washcloth, and you can get just about as clean as if you took a shower. Now if you do that, I recommend having 2 towels, one to dry off with and 2 to kind of clean up the area around you, because you can make a little bit of a mess. So that's how you can get clean with just a sink and a bathroom. Now if you have a shower, that's obviously the ultimate. Now whether you use a sink or a shower, I really recommend keeping your supplies at work. I keep a shower basket at work, and you can keep it in a cubicle, you can keep it locked up in a desk, you can keep it in a mechanical room, which is what I do. So any place where you can just fit a basket. In fact, let me go ahead and show you the basket that I used and some of the supplies that I keep. This is my basket that I keep at work. So it's got a little carrying handle, so it's really easy to just pick up and take to the bathroom or the shower. I keep in it this body wash, 3-in-1. It's shampoo, conditioner, body wash. I really like this. I recommend it because you can just take this in the shower, and it's a 3-in-1. That's all you really need to bring in the shower. Unless of course you want to bring a loofah. I keep a hair dryer, a brush that the handle actually broke by accident, but it's nice because it conveniently fits in my basket. A loofah, and of course I keep some deodorant here. I do keep also soap. I'd use this basket for lunchtime rides too, where I don't need to wash my hair, and I just take soap and I keep it in one of these travel cases. And some hair gel, some cologne just in case. And then if you travel, it's good to pick up some of these just conditioner, shampoo that you can bring to work and just keep in your basket. So that's my basket. And then of course I keep a towel at work too. So that's the basket that I keep at work. I also keep a couple pair of shoes. I keep a pair of black shoes and brown shoes. Shoes are so bulky, it's just not worth carrying those back and forth in your backpack or your panniers. So if you can keep that at work, that's fine. And try to keep a towel at work. So shoes, shower basket, and towel. If you can keep those at work, you're going to not have to transport those back and forth. Now, if you have to lock your bike up outside, get a dedicated lock and just leave the lock locked on the bike rack if the place where you commute to and from will allow that. Most of them will. That way you don't have to carry your lock. Now this backpack actually is designed with a U-lock carrier. That's what this outside pouch is. So it's really nice to be able to carry a U-lock on your backpack if you need to, or you can mount it on your bike. But if you have to lock up your bike, leave the lock at work if you can. Now some people I've heard will actually take in a change of clothes on Sunday, leave it at the office. I read an article about I think it was a CFO or some executive who commuted into San Francisco, and he would go in on Sunday, bring a whole change of clothes, and then on the weekends change those out and put in a new fresh set of clothes. If you could do that, that's a whole lot less that you have to carry. I don't do that. I carry my clothes with me. One thing that I do recommend is carrying an extra t-shirt in the summertime, because you're going to probably get a lot of sweat on your shirt, and you can wear the same shorts and socks on the way home, but if you can change out to a fresh t-shirt for the commute home, that can be very helpful. Here's a tip for you, and that is use a checklist of the things that you're going to need to bring to work. It is no fun getting to work and realizing you forgot a shirt or forgot a belt or forgot your underwear. So spend about 10 minutes, write down everything that you're going to need to carry to work, and use that every morning. I have a mental checklist. I've been doing it for so many years that it's in my mind, and I go through that every morning before I head out the door, just so I don't forget something. Also, as with any bike ride, make sure you carry a tube, a pump, and some tools, usually a multi-tool, just in case you get a flat on the way to work. And with that tip, make sure you provide enough time, maybe an extra 10 minutes, however long it takes you to change a flat tire, just in case you do have a flat and you don't want to be too late to work. Also, I won't go too much into clothing. If you're a cyclist, you know what kind of clothing you got to wear, but typically you're going to want to have a rain jacket packed if you're in a season or weather pattern where you can get some rain. So make sure you bring a rain jacket. Now let's talk real quick about nutrition and diet. I'll just mention a few things. I'm the kind of person that I have a fast metabolism. I can't commute to work without eating breakfast, so I try to wake up early enough to where I will at least have a bowl of oatmeal or something before I head to work. Also, you may want to bring a Cliff Bar or something with you so you can snack on that once you get to work. So you know your own body, you know what you need to eat, but think about nutrition. I typically will eat a meal kind of late the night before if I have a hard ride. So if I'm doing a workout in the morning, not just an easy commute, I try to eat a little bit later at night so that I'm not calorie deprived when I'm commuting to work. Let me talk about some of the advantages of bike commuting. If you're new to it, you're thinking about getting into it, it is a great way to start your day. Just to get to work with mental clarity. You're typically happier when you get to work by exercising in the morning. And it's a great way to use your time. You save gas, you get in a little bit of a workout, and if you want to plan a longer route, you can get in a longer workout. I typically don't do my longer or harder rides in the morning. I will plan that for the afternoon. Even though I'm a morning person, I don't like working out real hard in the morning. So sometimes I'll plan for a longer route on the way home to do my intervals or hard ride if I'm in that type of season in my cycling. Another advantage is it's amazing how stress from a stressful day will just melt away by the time you get home. And so you could make a huge list of the advantages of exercising, but one of the main ones to me is how it helps you deal with stress, especially if you've had a hard day at work. I'll wrap up this video with talking about safety, which is very, very important. I've already mentioned light safety, using a blinking light, blinking rear, blinking front light, and of course a steady, bright front light for times when you're commuting when it's completely dark. Also, use a mirror. I did a mirror review a few weeks ago on one that it's called a Third Eye, which is the brand that I recommend. But find a good mirror that you have either in your helmet or on your bike. I like the ones on my bike, but use a mirror so you can monitor the traffic behind you. Also, be careful riding directly into a sunset or into a sunrise. If you live west of your office, you're going to be going into the sunrise as you go to work, and you're going to be going into the sunset as you come home from work. And the traffic going from behind is going to have the sun in their eyes. So you really need to take that into consideration. I sometimes, if I'm heading into the sunrise, will ride on the left side of the road because typically most of the heavy commuter traffic is going with me and there's very little traffic coming the other way. So I'll actually ride on the other side of the road, and if I see a car coming at me, I'll either pull off the road or go back over to the right if it's clear. So again, take that into consideration. You may even want to do a route that doesn't go directly into the sunrise or sunset, where you're kind of going different roads so that you're, again, not going directly into the bright sunlight. The final safety tip is you may want to get something like a reflective vest or have extra reflective material on your bike or on your clothing or on your backpack just to make you that much more visible. So that's my guide to bicycle commuting. Hopefully you picked up some tips even if you've been doing it for a while. Sometimes you have to get creative. That's the fun thing about bicycle commuting. It's going to be different for every single person. I'll end this video with a funny story. I used to commute to work and use a hose outside the building to shower. And I've worked in a lot of different places, but this one particular place, I literally would take soap and kind of put it on my body and kind of go down to just my bike shorts and use a hose and rinse off behind the building. And then I would take, after I changed clothes, I would take my bike shorts and use the little string inside, because these had a string, and I would tie it onto the HVAC unit and let the fan kind of blow them around and dry them off. And I did that for a while until the maintenance guy asked me not to do that anymore. So again, you got to get creative, but that's the fun thing about it. Hopefully, like I said, you've learned something from this video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Thanks for watching.